Hi, ICOM 101 students. My name is Megan McNames, and I'm an instructor of journalism here at Ball State, where I'm also the director of the digital media minor. I want to take this opportunity to introduce you to the main concepts behind the digital media minor. So this class is not only going to get you sort of into the world of digital media, but it's also going to sort of outline what the digital media minor is about and different ways you can study digital media within the minor. So in this video, I want to talk about the digital media minor's three core concepts: emerging media, storytelling, and design thinking. In this introductory course, you'll spend the first 8 weeks learning about these three areas. So you'll start by looking at some of the basic foundations of emerging media next week. But what you need to know right now about emerging media is that it refers to how we gather, create, store, share, and communicate information in various forms of media, like pictures, texts, tweet, video. Think of the internet as a big box full of all of the stuff that you, me, and everyone we know makes and puts online. That's emerging media. How we organize that stuff within the box and help each other find it is also emerging media. Then we'll look at storytelling, specifically digital storytelling, and we'll focus on how storytelling is so important in getting people to engage with digital media. So it's not just sitting in that big box without being seen. How do we get people interested in the media that we're putting online? Storytelling can be one way. Finally, you'll be introduced to design thinking, which is a process for solving problems. If you don't consider yourself a designer, don't panic, because the design in design thinking doesn't mean graphic design. The design in design thinking refers to the activity of creating anything strategically. If you've ever had to write a paper for an English class in which you made an argument for or against something, you designed the argument by figuring out what it needed to do, how you would structure it, and who it was for. Design thinking is exactly that process, figuring out what you need to do to solve a problem, who you need to do it for, and how you should go about doing it. In week 9, we'll move on to some key skills that you'll need in the minor in order to make use of emerging media, storytelling, and design thinking. These skills we will refer to as the 5 competencies of user experience design. Now don't worry, we'll cover user experience design by the time you get to week 9. The basic idea here is that in order to use design thinking, in order to tell stories, and in order to create emerging media, you need some basic skills like organizing information and testing what you've made to see if it works. The 200 level classes in this minor will serve to give you a more deep exploration of those competencies. In this class, you're going to learn what they are. What I want to do this week in preparation for the course and also for the minor in general is talk to you a little bit about the stuff that you don't know. And this comes from the Schwartz reading you're completing this week. Because at this point, you're probably looking at the syllabus and thinking to yourself, I have no idea what's going on. And in the minor, that's going to happen a lot. In fact, it's going to happen a lot in life in general. At least I hope it does. Because when we work in digital media, when we use design thinking, we've got to get used to the idea that we don't really know that much about the things we're working with sometimes. Richard Saul Wurman, the famous designer who came up with the format for TED Talks, always says that he's so successful because he embraces his ignorance. He doesn't fear it, and he doesn't pretend that it's not there. When we work in innovative fields like digital media, it's really important to be okay with knowing that there's a lot you don't know. The important thing is recognizing when you don't know something. The dangerous thing is thinking that you know something that you don't. I had a student tell me once that since he was a white male, he was a minority student on Ball State's campus. He was very sure of it, and because he was so sure, he never looked at any of the publicly available statistics about the student body that Ball State shows on their website, showing that he absolutely is not a minority student on Ball State's campus. He was so sure that he knew that was the case, that his experience on campus was telling him it was the experience of a minority student, but he really didn't know. And that's dangerous, because if you know that you don't know something and you're willing to recognize your ignorance, you can do something about that ignorance. You can do something about not knowing. At the very least, realize that there's some information or understanding that you don't have. The trick isn't to know everything because you never will, but to know when you don't know something, when you're missing information or missing understanding. I also want you to read the Schwartz piece because I want you to know that this class is an introduction to the concepts of the digital media minor. You aren't going to be an expert in digital storytelling, in emerging media, and in design thinking when you leave the class. But you're going to have a better picture of what those things are and what you know and don't know about them.